worry, our quota of women, it's coming. They're all gonna come as a hurricane. At any time, the women of Web3 will be here. They are a tremendous. I do have to say they are partners, and they've been awesome activating communities of Web3 all over the U.S. They live in different cities, so they're gonna follow. And they're gonna be doing some panel talks after us here. But I do, coming back to our panel here, we're gonna scale the conversation of our not only our report, and I appreciate if we have the image here, Alisa or Jenny. I'm very grateful with Fuel Arts for publishing this report along with us, BitBasel, but we wouldn't be anything without our advisors, with our mentors, and people who, just like Marco and George, have been supporting our BitBasel team for forever, for a while. My name is Jorge Cortes. For those who I don't have the pleasure to meet them yet, I'm also co-founder of BitBasel, and I've been developing the ecosystem here for over a decade now. Startups, co-working spaces, working and bringing some accelerator programs here to Miami. My fifth concept of co-working space that I was working last decade was the Blockchain Center, where I had the chance to meet my co-founders, Scott Spiegel and Scarlett, and we formed BitBasel as a spin-off of the former Blockchain Center. But there's people who have been in the ecosystem for as long as forever, and George is one of those who has been local to Miami. He launched the Blockchain Institute of Technology 7 years ago, 6 to 7 years ago.
2017 to be exact.
And he has been a tremendous former entrepreneur with tremendous progress on his abilities in companies in the tech sector, as well as Marco. He's not only on academia recently, but he has been an educator and a startup founder, and also coming from San Francisco and Silicon Valley to be relocated and building a family in Florida, in this case in Gainesville, Florida. So I appreciate both of your time for being with us. We're gonna scale the conversation with some of my comments of what I reflect on Florida. I pick up this line once again when on the panel with Tim Draper. If Florida was a country, it will be the 15th largest economy in the world. By the end of the decade, we are going to probably be within the 10 largest economies in the world if the state of Florida alone was a country. And from the perspective of migrations, from the perspective of our local talent pool, our universities, our school system, I think we have a chance to not only make it meaningful on the economic development aspects of it, but definitely on what we can offer to the world in the best spirit of craftsmanship, way beyond entrepreneurship. And so I want to talk to you guys. I want to listen from you guys, from what's happening in Florida and the work that private institutions are doing with hundreds of thousands of people online and in Florida, as well as our young students. So first of all, I want to let George to introduce yourself. And then we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm George Levy. I'm the founder of Blockchain Institute of Technology. We are the world standard for blockchain education and certification. I want to point that out because we think global, right? So headquarters are in Florida, but we have students from more than 190 different countries. We have more than 180,000 students worldwide who have taken courses and certificates from us. And the way we've been to leverage that is by using online. We do have some physical. We used to be the one of the first tenants in the Blockchain Center, and when COVID hit, that venue was gone. We had to pivot, and we really focused specifically on being able to reach a global audience. That's why we're the world standard. That's what we put globally. Different space from where we are. I highly admire what you do. I'm actually a Florida International University graduate, not UF. But I mean, there's definitely a space for college. And we just filled a smaller, different niche, trying to address a more global international, especially from Miami. I used to be a regional partner developer for Microsoft for all of Latin America. So I am very familiar with Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, all that's happening across the region, Mexico, right? So that was a big thing. I saw an opportunity to be able to reach a lot of bright people and be able to reach them from here. So that's where my spot is and where I stand today. Thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you, Jorge. My name is Marko Suverjic, and I'm a founding director of Blockchain Research Lab at University of Florida. As Jorge mentioned, University of Florida is now ranked #1 public university in the United States. In doing that, we are now looking to become a globally recognized research institution that is leading the way in the, how do we leverage emerging technologies. This goes for AI, where we are now the AI university in the United States. VR, my program, Digital Worlds Institute, we have a graduate program that focuses on VR and AR. And blockchain, where we have opened the first blockchain research lab in the state of Florida and started offering classes in the area of blockchain some 4 years ago. That was very, very new at the time. So, coming from that large institution type of place, it gives us maybe a little bit of a different experience in how do we approach educating primarily, again, our students. And Jorge, you talked a little bit about the magic of state of Florida and becoming the top 10 industry in the world, a country in the world, right? And what is that? And I feel, from my own experience, in advertising, we talk sometimes about a 1-2 punch, meaning one thing is to get your attention and the second one is to actually explain why is something amazing. And I think the state of Florida has that. And I think that's the success. And that 1-2 punch is that, one is like, we have all these beautiful destinations that people come in their isolated view of Florida. Oh, it's a beach. Oh, it's Disney World. Oh, it's Miami Art Week. And they come for something kind of specific. And when they come, they realize that Florida is so much more than that. The people are friendly, the industries are here, the startup scene is here, and they recognize the opportunity that, oh, this is actually a really fun place to live and to, have a family and to grow professionally. So I really do believe that Florida will keep climbing up the ranks of those, if Florida is a country, because what we have to offer is actually not just unique, but it's actually something that people want. And it will keep growing and growing and growing. And we at University of Florida are experiencing that, as in, we cannot grow anymore. We have tapped out our space. We have way too many students, at about 60,000, and the average entry GPA for our freshmen is like 4.2. So it's getting to be both selective, as well as we're still not able to serve our audience. So now the state of Florida legislature have given us an assignment of a sort, some 5-6 years ago, to move all of our degrees online. So now University of Florida has a digital twin, where every single degree exists online as well as in person, with the goal that every citizen of state of Florida has access to top-level education. And I think that's also where a lot of stuff will come in play in terms of blockchain, virtual reality, AI, where the future will exist in metaverse and future students will exist in metaverse because the physical space is being tapped out. And I think that is, again, something that Florida can take the leadership role in moving forward.
Awesome. Thanks for your reflections. Definitely state of Florida, and for you to have the experience of living in Florida, it's not only being in Miami. It takes a good learning curve to understand what's going on at the other coast, and places like Tampa, or places like Central Florida, or North Florida, right? The beautiful springs, or everything that's happening at Cape Canaveral with science, technology, and innovation, the aerospace industry, and all that add up. But for the nature of our day within the creative industries, we started to see a tremendous perhaps evolution, perhaps renaissance of creatives that are channeling their talents into business models, into making them, into creating apps or dApps. And in terms of, of what blockchain provides as a technology, what do you guys is the best reflection for that local talent of Florida in the creative industries? Whoever wants to start.
So I think that what's happening right now is that we have somewhat of an uneven race, if I can put it that way, between ideas, creatives, and developers, and then on the other end, investors and educational systems. So the startups are moving at the speed of light. There are ideas that, oh, we can do all kinds of stuff. But I keep having conversations with people who come to me and say, hey, I have this idea. Do you have students who can make these smart contracts? We can implement this, you know, so on and so forth. And I think that that is one of the things that right now we're lacking. It's the workforce development. There are ideas. There are potentially even investors, but the workforce development is not following through. And that's something that Florida is still to grow, so to say. And that's also, I feel, we have two different approaches where large institutions like University of Florida, we move slow. We need time. So we don't respond to the needs of the market next month or next semester or not even next year. It takes probably about a year or more to create a new course at University of Florida. So, and then another semester or two to get a couple of graduates out. So if, we started at the University of Florida with educational efforts like 3-4 years ago, and it was hard. Administration did not understand what was going on. They were like, what's blockchain? Like, we don't have anybody asking us for students who know anything about blockchain. And it's hard to say, well, it's emerging technology, and by the time they come asking, we will not have anybody ready, right? So we started building, and in our case, the blockchain lab at University of Florida was founded with a great support of Algorand Foundation, which is one of the blockchain protocols, that recognized this opportunity and said, hey, we'll give you a grant. We'll give you a multi-million-dollar grant over several years to build a pipeline of developers and students who can address this need for developers, right? But it's a different format than other schools that can respond quickly. So I think it's that kind of combination between large institutions that give it credibility, that give students kind of like a dedicated focus, and then other schools who are able to do these things a lot quicker. And I'll let you tell us a little bit more about that.
What I mean by that is some people don't need to go all the way to a certificate. Some people don't need to get a degree. Some people just want to get in, learn enough to get dangerous, and go in and break stuff, right? And I think that is very effective when you're into the startup mentality. You just want to learn enough to build a minimum viable product, even if you break stuff in the process. But we're able to move quickly and deliver that. And that's where I think we're in different spots. But at the end of the day, I think our growth is the same. We want to, personally for BIT, our goal is to empower the blockchain workforce. Why? Because if there's not enough people to develop that, the whole blockchain thing just fizzles. We need to be able to develop the talent.
Thank you, George. And coming back to what you were referring, engaging with enterprise in terms of blockchain, the power of blockchain, and companies or corporate innovation. Would you give us a reflection on that? Perhaps here in Florida, with so many headquarters, new banks arriving, what you have seen here locally that you see upcoming in the upcoming years in Florida for the use of blockchain? What do you think?
Well, what I would say is, just to be specific, the clients that I've mentioned all actually approached us. So it's not like we haven't been actively pursuing these enterprise. We really just, that's only one of the targets that we reach. I think there's definitely a need in the enterprise space. I think definitely as we get evolved, especially because Miami's becoming so blockchain heavy, I'm really looking forward to seeing what UF is doing and see if there's any synergies in anything we can do. So really just help the market.
Marco, is there anything, any use cases that you can tell us so far with your experience with the students engaged on the blockchain lab? I do have to say that the blockchain lab has gone and traveled on students to multiple cities around the U.S., experimenting what is to learn the culture of engaging engineers with people in traditional finance, perhaps, and the activities around hackathons, so that they get engaged with a new world and a new culture and new community that's traveling all over the world. What do you have any experiences so far with students either getting new jobs here in Florida or engaging with the Web3 communities?
So in our experience, the way that the funnel works, and I speak of a funnel that is like a 3 steps in a way. The first step is introducing students to what is blockchain. So it's kind of like a blockchain speak that So first, there's a lot of students, vast majority of students are actually not really knowledgeable about what blockchain is beyond hype, beyond the NFTs or Bored Apes and stuff like that, or beyond investment. So the first step for us, and this is the first step that we grab the most students, is what do you do with it? And what it is blockchain, right? Once they learn what is blockchain, the next step is, well, what do you do with it? What is blockchain for? Like, okay, so now that I learned that there's more to it, and you can write smart contracts, and you can do all other kind of stuff, how do I leverage that? So our next step often is working with students to develop concept proposals that are kind of like small business plans. We don't push them as far as the full 150 pages, but like 20, 30 pages of concept proposal of some type of a startup, is it an app, or is it application of blockchain in a real world industry, right? And then the third step is the most tech focus, which is, okay, so now I know what blockchain is, I know what kind of stuff I can do with it, how do I actually do that? Like, how do I actually make a smart contract? How do I program in Solidity or PyTeal, or how do we go about that? And that often is the last, the smallest number, right? Because we talk about what it is to everybody. We talk what can you do with it to a lot of students, and then the very few who actually stick to the point of being developers and building stuff, right? And that is the funnel that needs to keep growing and growing and growing on all 3 levels, so we can have more and more developers who can actually produce stuff beyond just ideating, but actually having real startups, real projects, that they can push to the accelerators and keep, So that is our goal. My students have graduated and went to work with several different blockchain-related industries, and they do that often in a variety of different roles. Sometimes they are project managers, sometimes they are customer relationships, and sometimes they are actual devs. But it really ends up being a wide area of what they do. It's not just dev only. I would say that it will be quite diverse in the roles that they take up.
Is there anything, George, that you can share with us in the same nature? You and I have had meetings and calls with groups in Europe wanting to come here to Miami, and can you share one of these experiences of these companies that are not only trying to tap into Miami, but they're also entering through the blockchain technologies and wanting to connect? Anything that you want to share with us that from tons of students, and you can, I don't know how many was the number right now, but I know it's hundreds of thousands of students. Anything special that you want to share with us for all those taking classes out there and they're like, I want to go visit Professor George in Miami and I want to live in Miami now. Can you tell us a little bit of that experience? I know you have multiple.
Well, what I would say is the number is actually 180,000, so a little bit over 180,000 students. So the key thing I would say is primarily most of our students actually engage us on a remote basis, right? When we had the Blockchain Center, that was our headquarters, right? So we would go there, we would send people over there. Now it's different. Now most of our engagement is primarily online. But I'll tell you one specific person that I engage with on a regular basis. His name is John Lewis. John Lewis is one of the head trainers for Microsoft for the Azure, right? So Azure Cloud. And the way he got that, he actually lives in Colorado. And we started talking about, he fell in love with blockchain by taking the Certified Blockchain Professional program with us, right? And in the process, the incredible thing is he used to work for an architecture firm and he fell so in love with blockchain, he became certified for BIT, and then Microsoft recruited him. And they recruited him because he understood blockchain, and blockchain leverages cloud quite a bit, and now he's actually the guy that trains all the people in Azure, right? So a lot of the engagement actually is just you see how different people have different needs, right? And in common from everybody. What I was saying from that is that not everybody needs to go to that extreme level. Some people at different levels, like you said, he's not a developer, but he knows enough to be able to train other people and have developers reporting to him. He knows that people are not like lying to him, so he doesn't really need to be a developer. So that's what I would say, specifically from our perspective.
Thank you. I think I want to tap into, before we start wrapping up our panel, I want to tap into educators, professionals, and a new way of perhaps influencers that are, in a way, also offering some sort of introduction or classes or courses, and sometimes we don't know where is the line, where to cross the line. These are disruptive innovations. These are disruptive technologies. I think we're trying to legitimize a lot of the education, and it's changing very fast anyways. And all these other disruptive innovations are coming over. Now we have AI as a trend. Probably by the beginning of the year, I don't know, maybe drones, 3D printing, quantum computing, it's going to start popping up with interesting products. But how do we leverage, and how do we for our audience, how do we actually get a correct education, the right education that we need, not only based on some information out there or courses or influencers, when we don't necessarily know who those influencers are as professionals or what they have done through their careers, right? What do you guys think it's a good route that people should go to for the learning curve of blockchain technologies based on public education and private institutions?
So we live right now in this age of FOMO. There is a hype cycle after hype cycle. I long time ago used to work in the internet industry back in the day with Silicon Valley, and there was all kinds of hypes happening. But then once it was kind of slowing down in 2001 or 2, it seemed like another wave may not come anytime soon. And we did wait a little bit. Web 2.0 came around, but it wasn't really the same. And then VR came around, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. Everybody needs to know VR. And then blockchain came, and that was like, wow, everybody needs to know blockchain. And now we have AI, and now it's like, wow, everybody needs to be an AI expert. And the speed of these new technologies is just getting faster and faster and faster, introducing themselves. And now we are in this position where we're constantly chasing the next big thing. And there is a kind of a positive and a challenging side to that. On the positive side, it's amazing. We have innovation rate that is unprecedented. This we did not have, last 100 years have been incredible on the level of humanity. Last 30 years have accelerated incredibly. So that's amazing. That's awesome. How do we follow through all these things? Well, I think that there's at least 2 parallel paths, and we have, in a way, 2 representatives here on the panel, where large universities are slow. And how do we learn the right things? Well, this approach there is pretty simple from universities. We'll wait for a couple of years, we'll see what pans out, and then we'll teach people that. And then we'll teach it in a very systematic way, and those people who choose to learn that will take 4 years, or maybe 2 years as upperclassmen, right? So whatever we're going to teach, I want to teach something, like I'm making a class right now, and I need that class to be like up to date for the next 3 years.
Right.
How do you do that in AI? How do you do that in blockchain, right? But that is the challenge, right? So we will provide that type of education, that type of systematic thought. But then there's a whole layer of what's happening here right now that people need to know, and who might not be interested in a bachelor's of arts in digital arts and sciences or master's degrees and stuff like that, and they will need a completely different source of information. And once again, I'll pass the mic to you to talk about that.
Well, one thing I would say specifically from BIT's perspective, right? So Blockchain Institute of Technology, BIT. So we're third-party credentialed. You're also talking about that. I actually used to teach in universities also. I used to teach at Dalhousie University, and the thing what I found was exactly that. The curriculums that we had were like, they couldn't move as quickly as things are happening. Like, perfect example, right now, one of our main courses, we have a division called the AI Institute of Technology, new division focusing on AI, trying to teach ChatGPT. That ChatGPT course, in a span of 2 weeks, has completely had to change. Just because everything, like right now, the entrance of DALL-E into it, it can actually look at pictures. Now, main things that, you have to completely change the curriculum, right? And what I would say is that it's that moving. In fact, I'm just going to put one quote that I read about from Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg, one of the things he was saying is like, move fast and break things. And that's actually one of the things he tells his people, move fast and break things. And coming from a startup, actually, I was actually a co-founder of an internet startup here in Miami, 1998, back here. It's called UP.com. We raised $147 million, and then Microsoft bought us. And the reason I didn't stay at Microsoft was because when I went into Microsoft, Microsoft couldn't move as fast as a startup did. And then ideas for opportunities, disruption and stuff like that, it's just bigger beasts take time, right? So then that's when BIT came out, and that's where we're moving now as quickly as we try to keep up with everything. So I think there's a combination with both. You have access to big resources, you have big scale, there's a lot of things you can do, and then we move fast. We have like, so the thing is, how do we strike that balance to benefit the entire community, which we all coexist in?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think we're gonna start wrapping up. We started a little bit with a little bit of a delay, but are we going in time to have the next panel? The Women of Web3. I think they're also already here. So I wanna ask for a round of applause to our panel of professors, experts from Blockchain Institute of Technology and the Blockchain Lab at University of Florida, our biggest partners in our BitBasel journey. Thank you so much.